This is our Iteration 3 presentation of ResuMaster. I am Ashley Couch.
I'm Brooklyn Stone.
I'm Jacob Curtis.
I'm Matthew McCaskill.
And I'm Mike Ashiwi.
So as we begin here, the first thing we're going to demonstrate is just some screenshots of our application, then we'll go into a little bit of a demo of how it works. So our entire goal of this project was to create an application that generates beautiful looking resumes with very little effort. These resumes are generated using a server that we also wrote using Java Spring. So on the left here we can see an example of one of these on what these resumes look like. When you first launch the app, you'll be greeted with the window on the right, which you can create a new resume or open an existing one. Coming through here, we can see there's different types of sections that you can add to a resume. And indeed, there's different editors for each one. So you can see each one of these editors are very different depending on what's going to be editing in them. The 4 different section types can be seen here, and this is the dialog that pops up if you hit the Add Section button. So we have a header, which is just shows some like your name and email address, that kind of thing. We could just have a block of text or bullet points, or you can have the complicated category of experience, which can be education or work experience, volunteer experience, anything like that. It's a very versatile section. Here we can see just some small demonstrations of moving bullet points around, editing experiences. So it's very versatile. You have full flexibility with your resume and what it looks like in the end. And we have a very detailed user guide that explains how to do everything as well.
So when you open the application ResuMaster as a new resume, it will open up a blank resume with just a header. And then you can fill it in with all your information. And then I'll demonstrate opening each type of category and creating a category of each type. The next one is text. And as you can see there, if you accidentally try and leave a section when it has unsaved changes, it will save them. The next one we'll go over is experience, which is the most complicated one. But as you go through it, you add an experience, and the experience will include organization or school, your position or degree, depending on which option you're doing. And then it has a list of bullets as well. That's all the data that you would want to add for that, the typical resume. The last and final category that we'll go over is a bullet category, which is kind of self-explanatory. It's just a list of bullets. You can toggle visibility, so if it's visible or not on the actual rendered PDF of your resume, but it's pretty simple.
Next, you'll be exporting your resume in a form of a JSON file, which is just how your resume data is saved. You will designate the name of it. You can even cancel this while you're doing it, or you can just save it. And then we're going to close the application. After we've exported it successfully, we're going to reopen the application, and we're going to open that same file to make sure that we actually got the same information that we just now saved. So going back to where we just saved it to, opening it up, and as you can see, it has all of the same information. Next, you can export it as a PDF. So we're going to make that beautiful resume. I'm going to save it over an existing file because I have one. And voila, we got a beautiful resume. And lastly, you can send it as an email or to someone with an email. You'll have to wait a few seconds for it to load. And it'll have a link to a website where you can actually download this PDF, and that's available for about 14 days, and super simple.
In keeping with the request to see a little of our implementation, here are a few of the design patterns we employed to tackle this project. First, we have the mediator pattern. Specifically, this handles the communication between the category selector, which was the bar at the left of the previous demo, and the editor stage which handled the central editor. Information needs to be conveyed back and forth between these two graphical components, such as, hey, which category is selected? Did you delete a category, which now needs to be reflected in the category selector, the bar at the left? So information needs passed between them, but directly linking the two together was not a particularly appetizing solution. Thus, to solve this, we created a mediator in the form of the editor controller, which also doubled by acting as a controller for both components, allowing events to pass between them without them needing to know of each other's existence. The second pattern we're going to cover, flyweight. This was solving the issue that in image generation, we kept creating the same files again and again when really we only needed to make them once. They weren't changing, they had no dynamic state to them. Thus, it was far more memory efficient to just make one once and then return it every other time that image is requested. Thus, we utilized a flyweight in the form of the image cache holding all of these images. So you ask the image cache for it once, acting as the flyweight factory, and it then returns an image. The first time, a new image. The second time you request that image, it's the same one as before, thus saving memory.
An example use case video we have is our use case 13 video. Is about letting a user send their exported resume PDF to someone for it to be reviewed. This can be done by clicking Review, then Send Review Email, which will open up an email template for you to modify and specify the recipient for it to be sent to.
Use case 2, Request Review, wound up being folded into this use case. The reason for this was twofold. First, Request Review originally relied heavily on the concept of having a specified set of users, some of whom are put down as reviewers. This design element was removed from the system for the reasons explained in the Use Case 12 video. Secondly, in the final application, the only occurrence of sending an email with a PDF was to request reviews, thanks to removing the option of saving your resume by having it emailed to you. Thus, they really are no longer logically distinguishable or separable from each other.
The link to the rest of the use case videos is at the end of the presentation. Our results from static code analysis showed that we had some minor bugs, but most of these will be easy to fix, and we plan to have them fixed before turning in the final product. This is our Git analysis. All of our members have made fairly equal contribution, but as you can see, some of us tend to commit more frequently and also commit more lines of code more frequently. This is our time distribution for iteration 3. There's not a whole lot to say here. Here's our issue tracking. Most of our issues have already been resolved at this point. A few still remain, however, but we plan to have these resolved before the end of the project. Here are all of our relevant links, such as our website, the client GitHub, the server GitHub, which contains PDF compilation, and then finally the link to all of our use case videos. Thank you for watching.